All right, all right, all right. How is everyone today? Welcome to today's podcast. We're going to bring together a wealth of knowledge. Lovely script, this Stefan, by the way. Thank you. From the yachting world, immigration insights and updates on the hurricane season that's upon us. It's been crazy. My name is Ard Matthews, and alongside me is my co-host Stefan Heiberg. Stefan, welcome, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Nice to do this again. This is the second year of the Let's Talk Yachting podcast, and it's going great. It's lucky to have you with me.
Perfect. So we got quite a bit to cover. Before we dive into the specifics, let me introduce our guest today. Joining us will be Captain A.D. Miller. Give us a little wave there. There we go. That's Captain A.D., who's based in Florida. And you'll give us an update from what we've heard so far. That's not ideal. We do apologize, man, the effects on the industry. And we'll hear from immigration lawyer Grant Kaplan, who'll be answering your questions about visa and immigration status for yacht crew in the U.S. But first, we're proud to have Poseidon Wealth Management sponsoring the podcast. We've got GK on the line to talk about Poseidon Wealth, a growing name in wealth management. GK, tell us what makes Poseidon Wealth stand out.
Well, thanks very much for the opportunity. Poseidon Wealth was basically created as a dedicated, to help individuals in the yachting industry and beyond, and also manage their wealth with customized strategies, tailored to their unique needs. We understand the global nature of yachting, and provide solutions that keep up with those demands, making us a household name in the wealth management sector right now.
Well, I must say, GK, the more people I hear of doing bank accounts and getting investment advice and restructuring of assets, etc., I always hear the word Poseidon Wealth. And that's why I wanted you guys to be up here today. And thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. We don't always allow people to sponsor anything or to come on board because we want to keep it kind of as a free offering to everybody. And I think very necessary to say is that the Let's Talk Yachting episodes, podcast rather, started in Croatia. And what we were trying to do is, we're all individuals from different places in the industry, wanting to give service back to individuals that need it. So I do believe that you guys do a good job, and thank you for that. Um, I want to know, what is the most asked question that yachties have when it comes to their finances? Is it tax related? Is it bank accounts? And then also, do you guys help currently only South Africans, or can you help international people as well?
That's a very, very good question, Stefan, because to pin it down to one or two specific questions is going to be very, very hard. We get a plethora of different questions. And I think the easiest way to explain it is, I think people are a little bit lost when it comes to the financial side. They invest so much time and energy in training. And I spoke to an individual earlier today that, funny enough, is going to go on to one of your yachts very soon. I think he's flying out on Sunday. And the questions were like, how do I transact? And then, like, what if I make money there? What are the tax implications? How do I bring money back? These are good questions to ask. And, oftentimes they say, we can't always answer all those questions now because you can go into so much detail, and every single client is different. They have unique needs. What is important to do is to equip them with at least an awareness of, when they do go overseas, how to do their banking better, how to transact better, what their options are. And again, every single client has got a unique need. So we look at the individual need, what they need to do, and we pair them with the best solution. And that's kind of where Poseidon comes in. I'm sure we would all agree there's a plethora of solutions for every problem that you have out there in the world. The problem is sometimes what do I pick? Where do I go? What's the right thing for me? And at Poseidon, we've decided to invest our time to support the yachting industry with tailored solutions that actually match their individual needs, that works out the best for them. And at the end of the day, affords our clients the opportunity to focus on yachting and making a living and making a difference without having to worry about the noise of these things that they don't actually have interest in at the end of the day. People essentially want to make money and grow their money. That's what it boils down to.
Do you guys, can you guys assist with people in terms of making suggestions for acquiring assets? Because I think the big thing for yachties are they want to go make a lot of money, come back, buy a house, buy a car, buy a bike. I see a lot of yachties that's come through our hands at Paper Boat Yacht Academy becoming successful. And the next photo I get is a GS 1200 BMW motorbike standing in the garage for 10 months out of the year, and they're very excited. Or a new Ford Raptor bucky with fucking lifter and everything. It's nice, but like, can you also suggest other assets like, investments into apartments and houses and stuff like that? Do you do that? Or, I mean, I don't even know if you do that,
Yeah,
because that's the questions I.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's many different ways that one can invest and spend your money. So, like the GS, for example, or the Raptor Bucky, we wouldn't really get involved in those kind of decisions, because those are desired purchases that they make. But when it does come to investing wisely and knowing where to put your money, how to put it there, getting tax clearances if you bring the money back into South Africa, there are smart ways of doing it. And without sounding crass when I say this, doing it the dumb way ends up costing you a lot, and you start feeding SARS. But doing it the smart way, which is still legal, you can save yourself a lot of money, and you can optimize the amount of money that you've made overseas. So absolutely. And we have a variety of different clients. Some clients end up spending the rest of their lives and they immigrate and financially immigrate overseas, and we can assist them with those things. A lot of people want to come back to South Africa and maximize the exchange and really start investing back in South Africa. We've got clients that buy property and rent it out at Airbnb, so making their money work and grow at the same time. Again, to pinpoint on one specific thing is quite difficult, because every single client is unique. But yeah, we understand what all the options are. We listen to the client,
So I
and
think
we then take the conversation from there.
the big question, GK, is what does this cost? I mean, I always wrestle everybody that come on the podcast to give us the best pricing for our clients. So what does something like this cost, and can you help extended family members? Because I must be honest, I put my name behind this. I mean, are you on our podcast? And so with Art Matthews, and I need to make sure and do my due diligence that you guys know what you're doing. And I think I've been watching you for a while, and I'm happy with what I see. What does it cost to do a consultation with you guys? I think I know it's around $55. Am I right?
Yeah, it's about R1,000 for the initial consultation, because with that we establish exactly where they are and so on. We have, I don't know if I can mention this, but we have extended a bit of a courtesy, thanks to you as well, to offer free consultations as well. And I think we can maybe extend that towards the end of the month as well, because there really is a need for people to get good advice. We might not be able to solve the problem immediately, but just to raise the awareness and educate. I think it's down to educating and equipping them.
Okay, well, so what you're saying, I like what you're saying. Let me just make sure I understand. I know that you're already doing this for all Paper Boat Yacht Academy people. Everybody that comes through Paper Boat Yacht Academy gets a free. I take up the consultation fee. But are you willing to extend this to people on the podcast? Say yes.
I think yeah. We can definitely work something out. Absolutely not a problem at all.
Okay. Well, we'll hold you to that. So anybody
they'll have to say that they were referred by having watched the podcast.
Having watched the podcast,
Yes,
absolutely. If they let us know they watched the podcast, then we'll extend the free consultation to them.
Well, GK, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think you guys are doing a stellar job. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Or you can stay on if you want, but I think we're going to go on to the next topic. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. Thanks very much for having me. I'm going to bow out here. You guys have a lovely evening. And please feel free to share our details. More than happy to support your industry.
Thank you very much.
That's PoseidonWealth.co.za.
Here we go. Here's a screenshot. Well, that's the website up there. No, that's it. This is it here. All right, there we go. All right.
Sweet. On that, maybe I know we're going to still get to Grant Captain, but maybe at this point, Grant, is people allowed to open American bank accounts that are non-American citizens that are yachties?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. They can certainly open bank accounts. Some banks will require social security numbers, others won't. So, but yes, you can certainly open a bank account in the United States.
Okay. Well, let's go on to my wind-weathered friend, old 80.
Yes, bro.
80, if you don't mind introducing yourself and then give us a review of the last 24 hours in your life and where you are.
Yeah, my name's Eddie Miller. I've been yachting for just over 16 years. I am currently running a 90-foot heavy charter boat that is based out of the Bahamas. We're currently sitting in Florida because it's hurricane season. We came to the hurricanes, but yeah, no, it's been a very interesting 16 years of my life. I've met some pretty cool people and seen some pretty cool things. Helped a lot of people along the way. So yeah, I came onto the podcast for the second time just to kind of share some, I wouldn't say wisdom, but share some things to look out for.
Cool. So tell me about the hurricane and tell me what it was like being, you sent me a video last night. I don't know if Art can bring it up, but I looked at it and I thought.
Yeah, actually I can. Let's check this out. Check. Yeah.
Holy shit. Jesus. Just went over the boat. Just went over the boat, went past the house.
You still see it?
No, went past the house. Went over the boats.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Holy shit.
Back. Jeez, bro, that's
Oh,
scary.
my
So what was that? Like a what are they called? The sea tornado or whatever.
It's a water spout, so it's like a tornado that only releases over water.
Tornado, I love it.
But a water
Water
spout.
spout.
That's what it is. Tell me it's not that.
It is that. You're right.
In theory, it is that.
Thank you very much. So don't tell me I'm not right. Even
Did
Grant's
you
smiling because that's what he would
encounter
have called
any
it.
Art,
Yeah.
did you encounter any of those in your Atlantic crossing?
Not like that, no. But of just a lot of squalls, you know, which were sea tornado-y enough for me. Trust me.
Yeah. So I mean, we knew she was coming, or he was coming. We prepared as much as we could. Extra lines, extra fenders, kind of thing. Called the insurance company. The insurance company said that we were in the best place possible for this, which I strongly disagreed, but they know better. Yeah, so the wind started.
What do you mean
blowing
the
at
best possible place? What do you mean the best possible place in terms of location or where the boat is tied up to?
Yeah, so any boat that's based in South Florida or the Bahamas or the Caribbean has to have something called a hurricane plan. So the hurricane plan is a plan that the captain and boat owner put together in case of a hurricane. So for example, our hurricane plan was outside the vessel owner's house here in Stewart, in Central Florida. We had it approved by the insurance company. They tested our dock for stability and strength, and they said this place was perfect. So here we are. But yeah, we literally saw it coming. We prepared for it. What we didn't expect was the amount of tornado warnings and water spouts. So from 3 p.m. to about 7 p.m., there was over 60 or 65, can't remember the exact number, tornadoes touching down in Central and South Florida.
Jeez.
So it was a bit nerve-wracking. We were myself and the chef, we were running around trying to get last-minute things. And every 5 seconds to have a tornado warning come across your phone is a bit nerve-wracking, but we got through it. We got hit a few times by water spouts, and we saw, well, the most I saw was about 125 knots of wind.
Wow.
What?
And yeah, and
That's
but then
mental.
basically
That's
what
mental.
happened is our wind gauge blew off. So that's as much as it could go. But at about 3 o'clock this morning, we came out. We checked lines and fenders every hour, like clockwork. We had to push a couple in, tighten up some lines. But when we went out, it picked up, a good 300 kilogram couch and threw it across the deck. So I'm guessing it was about 160 to 170 mile an hour winds, roundabout.
Sure.
Jeez, dude, I'm glad you're
AD,
okay.
how does this affect how does this affect the yachting industry in Florida and the season going forward now? Like, people are booked to come to Paper Boat Yacht Academy, and we're having a great season for training over here. And I mean, I'm in a very good position where I am, and that's where we are in Dominican Republic. But what does it look like for the rest of the season?
Well, so behind Hurricane Milton, there's actually another one busy brewing. Insurance companies are getting more stringent with where the boats are and how they're kept, and requiring photos sent to them of how the boat is tied up and protected. Basically, what it's coming down to is, I'm seeing this more and more often, is that there's a thing on yachts called the Safe Manning Certificate, which requires a certain amount of people to be on the boat with a certain qualifications at all times, to move it in a named storm kind of things. So what I'm seeing now is that the insurance companies are requiring more qualified people with more more real life experience to be on board during these things. So just having, a deckhand on board that's fresh off the boat, literally, and having them on board, you can have all the licenses in the world, but actual having boat experience and being on the water, they're looking for that now. So, there's, I always knock it, but the 0 to hero courses where the guys go and do, like, from never being stepped on a boat before to yacht master, it's all nice and fine. You have the ticket, but you don't have any real world experience, and the insurance companies like the tickets, but they don't like that there's no experience. So that's why I think that what you guys are doing with the Paper Boat Academy is pretty decent, because you give everyone real world experience and time to live on a boat and understand how things move. And sometimes when you put something down and the wind blows, it's not going to be there when you go
Well,
back.
there's nothing more real world experience than the Impossible Machine that I can tell you. She's old world, and I'll tell you, people who graduate from that course, I see it and I know it for myself, having done it myself. But I just want to interrupt you quickly, because I've got cool comments coming in already. Don't worry, Gerard and Cornay and Yolandi. We're going to get to your questions, but I feel this is going to be best fielded by Adi and Stefan. What I'd like to do, because I know time is precious, Grant, and we appreciate you being on, I'd like to maybe just skip to a question so that you can, you can be done if you need to, if time is precious. So I think immigration, one of the biggest questions we've been hearing from the yacht crew is whether they can change their visa status while in the US.
I think Grant, maybe
Good
Grant, sorry, before you do, I'd like to just hear your professional background before you answer it, because I think that's very necessary for the people that's listening.
Yeah, no, of course. So I'm in fact not a skellum, for those who think that I may be. I'm only
The accent's a bit of a problem there, brother. That's a giveaway already.
Yeah. I've been in the US 24 years. I'm a US immigration attorney. I'm also still a South African practicing attorney, although I don't do very much in South Africa. We focus almost exclusively in the US on immigration, and we do many business-related visas, family-based, crewmen, waivers, you name it. So we do that, and of course we'll be happy to help. There's 8 paralegals here from all over the world. Most of the team speak Spanish and Portuguese as well. We've got a Creole speaker and a French speaker as well. So certainly we can help with any of that. So as per the question, yes, it is possible to change your status in the United States. Typically, to change your status, you need to wait 90 days before you can change your status. So if let's say you're coming in as a B2 tourist for pleasure, and you want to become a B1 visa, or you want to go and study, or you want to marry a US citizen, or whatever the case may be, typically 90 days is the criteria that they use, the so-called 30, 60, 90-day rule, which nowadays is 90 days, where they say if it's for less than 90 days, clearly you had some preconceived intent to change your status when you came in, and therefore there's some type of fraud. Bear in mind that immigration has got no warm blood flowing through their veins whatsoever. They're quite happy to deny anybody And just a tip for everybody, when they come into the United States, whatever visa you're coming in with, a B1 or anything else, bear in mind that Customs and Border Protection are very savvy nowadays as to what they believe your true intent is or should be, and they freely will access your cell phone. They'll have a look at your Facebook accounts, they'll have a look at your emails, they'll have a look at your text messages. And in fact, we had a crewman who came in the other day, or attempted to come in, and they, after much searching, had found that he had tried to seek employment while he was in the US previously, whereas he shouldn't have done so. And they found out the name of the prospective employer, the yacht owner, and he was not allowed in. And he's now, of course, having to apply once again, with the added issue that he has to file for a waiver to overcome the problem that he picked up the first time round. So if immigration is of the view that you're coming in to change your status, or that you're really coming in to seek employment, or you're not coming in for the purpose that you say you're coming in for, or you may have some previous overstay issues, or there might be a DUI conviction somewhere in the background, or there's some kind of an arrest, you're going to need a waiver in conjunction with any visa application that you file. Whether
Ron,
that's
what
a
is a waiver?
C1 visa. A waiver is effectively going on your knees and begging for forgiveness at the immigration, whether in fact you committed the offense or you didn't. So it's an explanation by you as to what happened. So, for example, this youngster who was coming in, he could have, and we're still going to have to do a full explanation in writing, and these are called non-immigrant waivers, the so-called Section 212D3 waivers. Not that anyone needs to know the number, but that's a non-immigrant waiver, which we file very often for people. So he has to go back and explain exactly what happened, and explain, why he was in this predicament, and he didn't mean to do this, and whatever else it is. And that goes hand in hand in conjunction with his next visa application. So, in other words, when he goes in and files for a new B1 visa, the officer will see, when the adjudicating officer, who again, they don't care one way or another. Just by the way, they do about 30 to 40 interviews every day, these guys. So they have at most 5 minutes to spend on your papers. So you better know your stuff. I always tell my clients, there's no time for asking how the family is. Hit the bullet points, set out your case, start with the bad news first. This is what has happened. This is how I fixed it. This is where I'm going from here. And arm in arm with that, the forms that you complete before you go to the consulate are called DS-160 forms. Those are the forms that the officer reads before they go in for the interview. And there should be the explanation, so that the officer at least has some kind of an idea of what's happening when you come there. Because in 90% of the time, they've made up their mind already before they see you and listen to your story. So they don't have time, and they're never going to get into trouble by saying no, but they could get into trouble by saying yes. And they have really an almost unreviewable discretion to do whatever they like. So typically, most famously, there's a denial or refusal called the Section 214B denial, where they say that we don't believe that you've proved your case and you don't have sufficient ties to your home country or whatever it is, and they just give you that blanket denial. So, time must be taken in the preparation of these things, especially on the DS forms which are completed. And then if there's something wrong, of course, we have to have the waiver. That officer should take that waiver. They need to hand that back to Department of Homeland Security, because they are USCIS, Customs and Immigration Service, and they should not or cannot adjudicate that waiver on their own. Should be handing it back to someone else. Of course, frequently they refuse to accept any documents from anybody and say, well, we've already, decided that you're not eligible, and here's your Section 214B notice, and cheers. They go on to the next one. So, care must be taken with these things, and, in order to get where we need to go.
Nice, long explanation. Thank you. I think, it gets so critical to understand, and and I think what you said, it boils down to the guy at the immigration office, and also, if you come back into the States after having done something wrong, then it's also up to the immigration office. This past week there was quite the uproar. Can you come on? Say that again. Can you come on a B1
I'll show you now.
to do a course at MPT or PYT? Yolanda, I don't know. I understand that there's AC1 courses. Ubray Smook from Yachties for Yachties knows a bit more about that. I understand that you go and do a program in the United States. I think you can, and then I don't know what they stamp you in on. I can't see. Maybe, you know what?
If
I'll
you,
ask Ubray Smook to give us information rather than me saying
yeah, so
something
if
on
you're
air
coming
that's.
in, typically if you're coming in to attend a short course or to attend meetings or whatever, you'd still come in under the B2 visa. Or if you're coming to attend business meetings, you'd come in under a B1 visa. But still derivative. That immigration wants to know the exact purpose of your visit. If you have an invitation to attend a meeting or a short course, they want to see that you've been admitted to that course. They want to see that you have all the criteria to your itinerary, the funds that you're going to return to your home country with all the necessary documentation beforehand.
So the thing that transpired this week on social media, which I kind of was involved with, but I quickly just stepped out because I'm not an expert, although I've dealt with visa issues for the last better part of 9 years. Um, Grant, somebody comes into the United States with boat documents, or somehow they stamped in a B1. Okay, they're on a B1 and they're in Fort Lauderdale. Either they're in between jobs or they're on a job, or doesn't matter. There's yacht crew. This happened on a yachting WhatsApp group. So I assume that it's yachting people. B1, cell phone, whatever, stolen in Fort Lauderdale, and this person asked, what do I do? And my suggestion was, you're allowed to go to the cops and just, they have CCTV cameras everywhere. And then the whole thing transpired where people said, be careful, don't go to the cops because you're there on a B1. You might be, sent out of the country because you're there looking for a job on a B1. So I kind of bowed out of the conversation. I had my opinion, but I'd like to hear your opinion of somebody being there legally on a B1, either in between jobs or for business or on a yacht. Something happens with them. Are they going to be, deported? And this one person said your visa canceled for 10 years if you report the fact that your cell phone was stolen from the police in Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach.
Yeah, no, and we did discuss this briefly beforehand. If you're in status on any visa in the United States, doesn't matter what the visa is, and that visa somehow becomes lost or stolen, certainly you can go and report it. There's nothing illegal about your status. If you're on a B visa, for example, in the US, typically those are granted for 6 months. The I-94 document typically is given for 6 months. And if you've utilized 4 months of that and your documentation is stolen, of course, you must and should go and report that to the police. It is possible to get a duplicate of the approval notice from immigration. There's a form called an I-102 form. You can apply for a duplicate document. So certainly there's no issue whatsoever with that. If, on the other hand, he had breached his visa conditions and was no longer working for that guy or got fired or whatever it is, and that employer had reported that to USCIS, that visa is no longer valid, that may be a different story because then the guy would not be in status. But typically,
Right.
if you're in employment or you're on your tourist visa or whatever the case is, you're good to go.
Okay. Eddie, coming back to you, I kind of like what you said earlier because it was something nice for my business. So I'm a bit prejudiced here, biased.
Here's something else that's nice for your business. Check that thing there from Marizal Deadlifts. I got my first day work crossing as a sole deckhand last year just because of the course by Stefan. Highly recommended. Thanks, Marizal.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, just to touch on the course and then we get back to the immigration stuff, like I just decided that I needed to do something that people refer to as a finishing school. a mentorship program. And this is where I want to start asking a very difficult question on an open forum. And AD, give it to me, but give it to me gently. I'm not a captain anymore in the industry. All I'm doing is training people and giving them our hands-on experience. What you just said was that people are looking for people with experience. I only do 8 days on a yacht. So we do 8 days, 200 hours, and we do about 300 to 400 nautical miles with a jam-packed, what do you call it?
Itinerary.
Itinerary. Is that enough?
It's yes and no in the same sentence. Yes, it's a hell of a lot more than what the majority of the people have coming to look for work overseas or applying for jobs. I mean, I think in the last episode I spoke about, like I was looking for a first mate, and I suggested I needed X amount of experience and people that could actually, tie their shoelace and all that kind of stuff. And I was just getting, messages from moms and, oh my, this. I looked at a boat once in the V&A waterfront. I'm more than qualified to do this. We need people that actually have been through some stuff on boats. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's some pretty nasty stuff out here too. So somebody that understands, okay, well, you load a winch clockwise, and there's certain things that you do and don't do on boats. So yeah, it's even though it's a jam-packed 4-day course, 5-day course, you only do 400 miles. It's a far cry more than what a lot of the people have coming in here. So any little bit of experience, whether it's on the Impossible Machine or, as I said in the last podcast, going down to the harbor and working on a fishing boat for a bit, or a tourist boat or something like that, every little bit counts. So the more experience you can get, the better. And I often say this to a lot of people that ask me for guidance and advice for getting into the industry. It's like, go do that. Go work on a tourist boat, even though you're earning pennies. Go do it, because it's valuable experience. So yeah, 100%. I think the mentorship that you guys do is definitely a fantastic stepping stone into the industry.
I think from my side that I can add,
yeah.
because I actually did, I did the hard yards on the Impossible Machine, and I did the crossing last year as quite a rookie, even though I had the tickets. But I think the concept of the boot camp is amazing, because yes, I totally agree. I had to go take all the work, learn all the aspects. But for me, just knowing firsthand how it's a tough boat, and I think once you do the course on her and you do that boot camp, that's invaluable experience, because then like you start kind of there, and that's the grind. It's old world sailing, it's all old school stuff, and then the next time you see an electronic winch, you're like, whew, this is amazing. And then you have to learn all of those things as well, and you know what I mean. So yeah, so I think the boot camp on an old vessel that was built by the SA Navy, designed to be a student training vessel, is quite a special thing, if I may say so.
Yeah, we've got 8 people. We've got 8 people on the boat right now. They're out there in the bay. They're enjoying it in the heat, and some things break and some things don't, and every time something's break, I'm like, this is great. Use it. Or if you can pull up that the document of ours, and I'm going to go back to Grant, just so people can see what we offer right here in the Dominican Republic. We are safe of hurricanes. People always ask me, why the Dominican Republic? Well, ask AD how he slept last night, and then ask me how I sleep. And then you go into the records of hurricanes in the Caribbean, and you'll see where we are. It actually hits the least amount of times. Touch wood.
Okay, so this should be. Is this? Oh no, hold on. This is what you're looking for here. This, yeah.
So the other one.
Okay.
The other one that you had.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's what we're currently doing. So we have 3 packages right now that we are offering. We had so many people that said, hey, your big package is a little bit too much. It's always sold out, but can you do something different for us as well? So we've got 3 different options there, ranging for your budget. So everything is as amazing as the next one. Maybe a little bit less of mileage on some of them, but you've got the 8 days boot camp, then the back to basics, which is just over $1,000, and then the next one under art is $800. And that yard period thing is so amazing. We had people on it, and then a week later, somebody got a job and got flown out to his yacht. Never had worked on a boat in his life, but we do teak on that boat. We do, all the essentials that you really need to know. So, if anybody wants to, inquire about that, speak to us.
Where
But I
where
would
can
like
they
to
go?
get
What
back
what
to
website must they go to, bud?
They must phone Art Matthews personally, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, Laka, good luck with that one.
Paperboatyachtacademy.com.
All right, we'll put the link. We'll put the link in the description afterwards.
Yeah, but I'm actually I've got a chip on my shoulder, not a chip on the shoulder. I don't know how to say it in English, but I feel very proud of what AD said. Thank you so much, AD. I did not ask you to say that. I promise that. But it sounds good to know, because sometimes you do something, you try and do something good, and you don't know if it really adds as much value as you think, and it's nice to hear that. Back to Grant. Grant, a question. Somebody goes to the United States on a B1 visa, and they overstay their visa due to a hurricane. Somebody was there 2 weeks ago. They couldn't leave with a boat. They were at the end of their visa. The visa runs out. They're out of six months. They're now there in the United States, and they can't get out. And so the next time they come back to the States, their visa's canceled for 5 years, and they told that they can't come back. Is there anything that you can do for a client like that?
Yeah. So first thing, I was in the South African Navy probably when you guys were little pickies, 1977, 78, on a torpedo recovery vessel called the SAS Fleur. I was a medic back in those days. So,
Wow.
okay, back to yeah.
Did you ever do your time on Howard Davis?
I subsequently became an officer. I did officers course at Gordons Bay and all of that stuff long time ago.
Grant, did you do your time? Did you do time on the Howie Davis?
No. I was in Simonstown, and then I was in Saldanha.
Okay, so carry on, yeah.
Where they sent all the naughty oaks.
Okay, so let's say somebody's visa is cancelled.
Yeah, all right. So now, again, you get back to the waiver, and you need to file that waiver in conjunction with the next visa application that you file. And typically up to 6 months, there's no automatic bar. You do have the overstay, but there's no bar available, no bar that's being incurred by you. However, as you pointed out, when you next try and re-enter, or you go back to the consulate, they will see that you've overstayed, and you'll need to file a waiver and explain all of this.
So a waiver is only done by an attorney. Sorry for is a waiver only done? You can help with that. You can't do it on your own, right?
Anybody can. I mean, you can tune up your own car. You can operate on your own heart if you want to, but you should use an attorney for this sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's a waiver, and in that waiver, you need to explain the circumstances and why you deserve to be forgiven, for reasons beyond your control, and so on. From an immigrant point of view, let's say you're becoming a green card guy, and an analogy would be that you refuse to have the COVID vaccine because of your religious belief or your moral belief. There are waivers available for that or anything else. So, you'd need to put your case up, and that would be the immigrant equivalent of the non-immigrant waiver that we're talking about.
Grant, we've got, just while we have, for people who are sending comments, I am going to get you, but these are the legal questions that I'm getting. So check this one out as well from Yolanda van Trich. For those who are only listening, a question we get all the time: can you enter on B2 and legally go register at yacht agents? Obviously, dock walking is not legal. What's your response to that?
Yeah. So again, you could, but the moment you leave, you're going to have to go back to the consulate to go and have that visa stamped in and have an interview at the consulate. So yes, you can apply to change your status in the US, but that's practically of no effect, because that's only good for as long as you're in the US. As soon as the boat leaves, that visa is no longer valid. The same as if you apply to extend your visa in the US, that's fine as long as you're in the US. USCIS, assuming everything is in order, will give you that extension of whatever visa status you're in. But the moment you leave the US, you have to go back to the consulate in order to have an interview to have that reinstated and put into your passport.
Grant, what if I fly to the United States, myself and Art, we decide we're taking our girls to Las Vegas, we're having a fun time, we're in a B2 situation, and while I'm there or while we're there, we get a phone call from somebody saying, hey guys, I see you're in the States, and come on our boat and captain our boat to the Bahamas for a weekend or two. I'm on a B2. And all of a sudden, without me wanting to go work there, we've got this great opportunity. Or somebody phones me and says, hey, Steph, come captain this boat. Now I need to legally change from B2 to B1. How do I do that? Can I? Will they listen to me?
So the answer is I wouldn't personally recommend that you do that. It may be possible to do it. The easiest would be to go out to the closest consulate that allows for third country nationals to process, perhaps Bahamas, perhaps Jamaica, wherever it might be. Go and have the interview, get stamped in, and come back in. That's the easiest and best way to do this, because
so what you're
in
saying
any
is
event,
if you're
even if you...
Sorry, so
Yeah,
you're saying
me,
if you're on a tourist visa, you're on a tourist visa and you get offered a position, leave the United States, get the paperwork, come back with the paperwork, and then be stamped in on a B1 with your new paperwork.
Correct. And the reason for that is, even if you could change your status in the US, which you may or may not be able to, the moment you leave US waters, that's of no valid assistance to you, because you still need to go to the consulate anyway to have that stamped in. And in order to have that stamped in, you need to have another interview.
Okay, I see. You mean interview, you mean coming back into the country with a different paperwork?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So even if you could change your status in the US, that's of no valid assistance, because the moment you leave the US, that's gone anyway. So you have to go to the consulate to get it done.
So a friend of mine, Alec, is asking, you say go for an interview, but if you already have a B1, B2, you're basically meaning get out of the damn States, get your paperwork, come back in, and then show, I've got my documents, Art and myself.
That's the best way to do this. Correct.
And then if they ask us, listen, you were here on a B2 on a tourist visa, and all of a sudden you're back out and back with a captain's letter. Did you look for work while you were here? You said you're going to the Vegas. Like, that could be a problem, eh?
Well, it would and wouldn't be. It depends on the date of the letter, right? You could date the letter, or the letter could be dated, the offer could be dated once you have left the US. It's certainly possible. There are ways to deal with this, and I know we did discuss it as well. Timing is everything on these. And just while I'm on that, I did discuss briefly with you guys some time previously about, we get a lot of requests, and we assist a lot of crewmen and ladies who adjust their status or want to adjust their status in the United States. They marry a US citizen, or they are engaged to a US citizen, how to proceed to do that. And many a crewman has picked up difficulties in the past, because if you come in as a crewman into the US, you cannot adjust your status in the United States. And I think I mentioned also previously, we tried to help a young lady, a British woman, who had in fact resigned her position, was going to take up other employment 2 or 3 months hence, and in the meantime had married a US citizen and tried to adjust her status in the US. And at the interview, the officer, as I mentioned earlier, they're not the most sympathetic people you've ever seen in your life. They took the view that she was deemed to be a crewman, even though she had resigned her position. And of course, they went through her documents, and they said, you're going to be taking up another position in 2 months' time or 3 months' time, and therefore you're deemed to be a crewman, and therefore you should adjust your status at the consulate in the UK. So what we do with most people is we file what we call consular processing. So we would file the initial petition, the alien relative petition here in the US, which everybody files. Once that's approved, goes through the National Visa Center and out to the US consulate, which, for South Africans mostly is in Johannesburg, and they would go and get their green card there. In the meantime, they can continue coming in and out on their B1 and so on with full disclosure. Of course, never, I'd never advocate for anything less than full disclosure. When and if required, you indicate that you married a US citizen, you filed the I-130, the alien relative petition, but you intend to consular process for this very purpose, and therefore you're continuing on your B1 visa. That's the safest way to deal with this.
Okay. Well, AD, you're in the States. You've been there for a while. What can you add to this topic?
Yeah, so just touching on, you mentioned somebody that has, visa issues and with regards to the hurricane. If we scroll back a bit, in 2012, there was Hurricane Sandy. It's quite a severe hurricane that came up the east coast of the United States. I was employed on a vessel, foreign flagged, and we had been in the United States for the 90 days. The 6 months. And we had done a trip to the Great Lakes. So going between the United States and Canada, we weren't out of the United States for more than 30 days to reset our visa. This is what it was explained to us. So when we left Canada, 29 days, there was a bunch of South Africans on board. We were racing the hurricane to Florida before it cut us off. We left after 29 days. We didn't spend the whole 30 days out. And this is what the immigration guy at the desk told me. This was in 2012. Never had an issue coming in and out from the Bahamas or flying from South Africa or anything like that. We did receive letters from the Coast Guard stating that, this is our current visa status. We would be in breach of our, reset time. I don't know what the correct terminology is, but fast forward 2 years later, I took a bit of a break from yachting and I went down to the Central Caribbean, Central America to go scuba dive, teach diving for a bit. And I flew back from Honduras to Texas. The reason I flew into Texas was it was $50 cheaper to fly to Texas and then to Fort Lauderdale. If I just paid the $50 extra to Lauderdale, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you guys. But landed in Texas and they flagged me immediately and they said, "You've overstayed, come with us," kind of thing. They took me to secondary and they interrogated me for about 2-3 hours. They're trying to, find out why I was in the United States and overstaying. And then I explained to them that I was employed on a foreign flag vessel. They didn't understand it. There's no yachting industry in Texas. So I'll circle back to the whole flying into ports that actually understand yachting. But basically, they didn't want to hear anything I had to say. They took my phone, my laptop. They went through all my messages, emails, absolutely everything. And when I started yachting, the first position I ever got was a vessel that was in the Caribbean, and we had sailed into Miami. And I had spoken to a friend that I'd never really speak to. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing with your life?" I said, "No, I'm working on a boat in Miami." This got flagged by them. So they tried to get me for working illegally in the United States, even though I could prove it was a marsh.
Was this a message that was still on your phone?
Yeah, from 2008. So they went really, really far back. And they basically held me in, like, I want to call it the immigration holding jail, whatever, for five days, because there's no direct flights from Texas to anywhere in South Africa. So they eventually sent me back to, they denied my entry. They sent me back to Honduras, where I was sitting there. They froze my bank account for some reason. I had no access to funds. I then managed to get a flight from Honduras to South Africa, where I started the process of appealing this. Nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. Fast forward to 2021, where they gave me a 5-year ban.
So this was after
Their
5 years.
passport
Yeah.
After 5 years, I reapplied for my visa in Paris. It was denied. Carried on with my life. Okay, bye United States, bye Bahamas, bye Caribbean kind of thing. I came to terms with it. Then myself and my partner were offered a job on a boat that was going to be in the United States at some point. We went to Croatia to go apply there. On the application, my partner got it first time. When I went, the really nice lady behind the desk, the officer, looked at my paperwork and she's like, I see what happened. They didn't really care about your situation. They weren't they didn't have any empathy towards the overstay and the hurricane and all that stuff. And they just acted, and they kind of realized that they were too far down the rabbit hole to try and apologize and just let me go through. And they reissued my visa, which was quite lucky. So I feel for the person that was dealing with the hurricane visa issues, but yeah, as I said, I'd circle back. If you're flying, if you are lucky enough to get a position whilst outside of the country, the United States, and you're flying in to join the vessel, please make sure you fly into a port that actually understands yachting. Fort Lauderdale, Miami, JFK understands it. Don't fly into Atlanta. Do not fly into Texas, and don't fly into those places.
Or Newark. Newark also not go.
Newark, yeah. They don't like you there. So just be mindful of that.
That's a fantastic story. I have a question out of that for Grant. Grant, can non-US immigrants, South Africans, Australians, Canadians, can they work on non-American flagged vessels in the United States?
Yes, they can.
Can they only work on Can they work on USA flagged vessels in the United States?
They can work on US flagged vessels other than for certain key positions. Watch leaders, positions of high, I'll call it responsibility, or something that requires, third party
So
oversight.
a deckhand and a stewardess, chief stewardess,
Yes.
bosun can work on an American flagged vessel. Is that only if the American flagged vessel is owned
Correct.
by a management company that is not American?
No, I don't think there's an exception to that rule.
Okay, so South Africans can work on American flagged vessels, except for certain key roles.
Correct.
I believe it's part of the Jones Act, I think, Grant.
Correct. Yeah, so that is stipulated for in the regulation.
Well, I think that immigration is such a personal thing, like the finances that we heard from GK. And if anybody wants to or needs to, I'd speak to Grant Kaplan. We're gonna put Grant's details up here, and he's somebody that's helped many yachties, and that's why he's on here. So I think that if you have a really pressing issue or something that you need to deal with, schedule an appointment with Grant and do a consultation with him, and he's definitely going to be able to help you better than WhatsApp groups. Somebody said this week,
certainly worth your while to be thorough about this. It's not like buying a shirt at the shops. This is your life, and if you make the wrong move or you decide to leave something out, there's always a catch-all. Have you ever answered any question incorrectly? Have you ever done this? Have you ever submitted a document that was fraudulent? Immigration covers themselves in all kinds of ways. So they can catch you on any kind of an angle that they want to. And we attend interviews with clients probably every week at the local USCIS offices and at the immigration court. And as I keep saying, there's no sympathy. These guys are not our friends. They will bomb you out given half an opportunity. They're really, they're bureaucrats. That's what they do.
So you say the best way to go to America is to be walking over the Mexican border and get a cell phone and some money. Is that the easiest way?
Absolutely. And if you speak Russian, it's much better.
Fantastic. Tell me another thing. Do you think the Democratic alliance, I almost said. The Democrats versus Kamala Harris. Does that have a effect on visas being issued? Who's the
So
president?
Kamala is
yeah,
Democrat.
so without delving into politics, Uncle Donald, if he has his way, as he started to do previously, will deport anyone within any kind, where they can accuse you of eating cats and dogs or whatever that might be. They will do their damnedest to get you out. So there's going to be no proactive immigration policy from him. Whereas with
Okay.
the Democrats, there's a largely, they're also weak on making any kind of progress. We desperately need an immigration act that makes sense for everybody. Everybody should know what they're doing. The border, of course, must be secure so that all kinds of interesting characters don't come crawling across. I mean, any country wants that. So,
Right.
from a strictly immigration perspective, Democrats offer far more than Uncle Donald, who doesn't offer anything on an affirmative basis. His policy is largely negative towards immigration and anything relating to a new immigration policy or a certain policy for everybody.
Well, AD, do you still think that, and this is kind of last questions, do you still think that the American Caribbean season is a good season, is a good option for yachties with qualifications and experience to try and find jobs? What do you find on the ground going forward? I mean, it's kind of heading towards the end of hurricane season with the massive hurricane there yesterday. What can people expect? I mean, it's difficult for you to say, but like, what do you think this season's going to be like?
I mean, I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be good. There's a lot of boats have postponed their crossings already, but I think it's going to be a good season. You know, it kind of goes back to the mad COVID rush for boats, where people couldn't get on boats. They couldn't travel, so they bought boats, and now they're stuck with these boats that they bought for way too expensive because it was a seller's market. And now the market's completely flooded. So there's tons and tons of boats sitting for sale. I mean, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, which is coming up shortly, is fully sold out for boat spaces. So I think the season's going to be good. I think it's looking up for everyone. If Uncle Donald does get into power, which, for example, like the vessel owner of the boat that I'm currently running, he's very nervous about Ms. Harris getting power. Because of the taxes for, the guys that are owning the boats. They're not scraping in cents and pennies like I am, but he's worried about it. So a lot of the people that have got the money and aren't too worried about the taxes, they're going to be down in the Caribbean. They're going to be in the Saint Tropez, St. Martin, Antigua, all those places. And there's a lot of big events happening this year. There's the St. Bart's Buckets, they're always looking for crews to walk off the dock to come help them wash a boat, all that kind of stuff. The Antigua Boat Show is also a huge one. There's so many events happening down south. There's the Antigua Charter Show, which is huge as well. There's so many.
St. Martin Heineken Regatta. The Heineken Regatta is going to be.
The Heineken Regatta is a big one too. Yeah, there's a ton of opportunities down there. Yeah, the immigration regulations are getting a little bit more strict, but it's they aren't policing it as much as you would say the US is. But yeah, I think the short-term future for yachting is really looking up. It's bouncing back from the COVID era. There's more boat owners, there's more first-time boat owners which are getting into the industry and understanding how things work, and I can't do this myself, I'm going to have to hire somebody to help me. So yeah, it's definitely looking up.
Well, I think that concludes it. Art, if you want to take it away with a nice song for us.
No, I think it's cool. I think obviously to wrap this, we'll put Grant Kaplan's particulars up on the site, so any questions can be fielded there. There were quite a lot of questions that were on comments, but there might be too many. So maybe in time, Adi and Stefan, you can reach out on this thing and answer them on there. So thank you guys for logging in. Grant, thank you very much for your time. Adi, I'm so glad we got you and that you're safe. Do you want to tell us just what you've heard? Is you're saying there's another hurricane brewing behind this now?
Yeah, so there's one coming across the Atlantic towards us, which is going to actually intersect with old Milton, and then
Jeez.
there's another kind of a weird pressure system that's building just above Venezuela at the moment. That's also looks like it's gonna come out this way too. So everyone's saying, it's coming to the end of hurricane season, but I don't want to sound like a doom harbinger, but global warming is a real thing.
Jeez, luck.
And we are seeing firsthand the effects of it. Water temperatures rising and all that stuff. So, yeah, hurricane season is not over.
Goodness.
Definitely
Well,
not
dude,
over.
I wish you all the best. Just stay safe out there. From my side, what I can say is that I've had the privilege of working with Stefan for the last couple of years, and it's been nothing but straightforward. He's a very honest guy. I've had nothing but glowing reviews. Seriously, it's been. I feel so proud to have placed students that have run the course on my boat. It's such an honor to hear the success stories that come out of it. So we now have the right team around us. I would always, being a musician, I would always advocate getting legal counsel. So we have Grant to use for that. So please do, guys. These are big decisions. You don't want to be caught like 80 did, or anything can happen at any stage. So I would always suggest doing it the right way. Do check out the course. The PDFs will also put up so that you can see what they are, and you can go to the website, which we're going to post on here. So guys, thanks everyone for your time. Good luck, students. Get out there, parents. If you got kids who need to learn how to be men or women, or just really well-rounded individuals, get them in there legally and give them the experience of a lifetime, because I can tell you that it changes a person. I was once a musician, but now I'm a sailor. So Stefan, 80, Grant, guys, thank you so much, man.
I thought you were going to me to sing, as long as I'm not on the line over there. That's
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
Have a nice day,
to see
guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.